Welcome to Rendering Insights. In this video, we're going to be drawing a really cool little hot rod cartoon pickup. We will do the line work in Illustrator and then go into Photoshop and do all our color work. If you enjoy this video, please like and subscribe down below. This is the drawing we're going to be doing. So let's get started. Okay, here we are in Adobe Illustrator. The way we started this drawing, like many others, I had done a hand drawing. These are pencils and markers, and just kind of sketched out this little cartoon and tightened it up with some straight edges and some things. And I just like the looks of this thing. It just makes me smile. And I figured, it's time to do a color version of this in Photoshop. So here we are. This is our starting point. So we're going to take our pen tool again and draw out this thing, trace it off pretty much exactly. I think the only other thing we added was some linkage over here on these makeshift fake carbs and a few little things. But we're going to follow this really closely. All right, but as dark as this sketch is, once it's scanned in, it's really hard to see. So we're going to make a tissue layer and put it over the top. It will knock this down a little bit so it'll be a little bit easier to see our new lines that we do. All right, here's that tissue layer. See what that does? We can still see through it and see our sketch, but when we put our new lines on there, we'll be able to see what we're doing a little bit. All right, so let's open up a layer, grab our pen tool on the left, and draw, I should say, all of our critical lines on here on top of this sketch. This is what those basic lines look like. Okay, you can see I've tightened up my driver, his face and things, and added some linkage up here and a heat shield over the top of this header down here and a few little things, and cleaned up his tattoos and so forth. But for the most part, it's the same drawing. All right, now see what would happen if we didn't put that tissue layer in there. We would never see what we're doing. See the lines? It's just too crazy. So that tissue layer makes a big difference. All right, once we have our basic lines in here and our ground line and so forth, we can get rid of our sketch and see what we've actually done. If we don't like it, we can go back and change it. But I like this little drawing with this breather and so forth. All right, on this drawing, just to create some interest in here, I want to do that kind of crazy cartoon Roadrunner looking desert background. So this is our basic lines to our background. Put those on a separate layer, put some clouds in here, and we can throw so much color with this later, make Walt Disney proud, right? I mean, it's going to be crazy. But on this color version, I wanted to add a few things. I want to put a cactus over on this side, and over here, an old abandoned desert skull. I just thought that'd be fun to do, especially once we render that in color. It makes it a little muddy to see the lines of our car, but it's all there. All right, let's take all this in these separate layers into Photoshop, and let's start playing with some color. Okay, we have our line work here in Photoshop. Let's go ahead and make 2 copies of this line work for now. All right, on the bottom layer, the first layer of our line work, let's go ahead and put in our base colors. But I think let's start with this ground area down here. Let's drop in some ground color. Just kind of brushed in, selected this area with the magic wand tool, and pretty much on top of this line with this ground color, just kind of start brushing in here to create, I don't know, some kind of a road surface area. All right, now let's go ahead and put in all of our base colors for our drawing. Wheels and tires, body panels, our guy, and motor details. Here's all our base colors on that line layer. Okay. Also on this layer, selecting this section in here, just start playing, brushing in some reflection of this horizon of this crazy desert Utah background or something, I don't know, and what will be our sky reflection later. But everything else is just really basic, opaque, plain colors. But it's vivid, man. I love the colors on this drawing. They're just wild and bright. Okay, let's open up our next line layer, and we'll start brushing in some shading and start giving this some dimensional highlights and so forth. So we'll select our magic wand tool and just section by section select these areas, and we'll start brushing in with our paintbrush tool black or white in here just to create some shadows and some highlights and some shape to our drawing. This is what some of that looks like. See what a difference that made. Look at our tires. This back tire alone. There we had that gray color in there. You select this area with the magic wand tool and get your paintbrush tool once this is selected with your black and just brush in along the bottom. Same thing on this slick area in here. There was just solid gray. Select this area in here, and at the bottom just start brushing black and fading out as you get to the top. And I put a little bit of highlight on top. You do that with each ring in here. Okay, almost looks like a Warner Brothers cartoon logo in there. It's kind of fun. Same with his arm. See the detail in here? It's just this flesh color that we had back with our base colors. Selecting that area in there, a little darker version of that same hue, get in there and just create a little bit of a shadow. Same thing with all these body panels. Created a darker purple and a little bit of black in here and just went underneath all these body details, creating some shadows. Same with these motor and tranny highlights. And on these intake tubes in here, wanted to richen it up a little bit, warmed it up, kind of give it a little brassy look. I don't know what this is, what kind of material it is, but it's just fun. Create some color and some reflection. And I don't know, I like it. All right, this grill shell, put a little highlight up on top of there. It's just little details that make it look a little bit more realistic. Look on this radiator tube up there. Just a little bit of highlight. Little shadow below. Okay, even his face. I mean, it's just fun to get in here and play a little bit with his hands, even his hair and everything. That's a lot of fun. Okay, we have one more layer to do a little bit more shading in, so let's take a look what that looks like. Okay, you can tell on our fasteners in here and our highlights on top of these intake stacks. See what that does? Have some highlights and some shadows on some of these these rim rings. It's hard to say, rim rings, and other details. Look at the shadows underneath this tail light. Just those areas you can get in here in this other line layer, selecting this section here with the magic wand and over here with your black, get under here and brush a shadow underneath that light. You can do that everywhere in here. Those layers are wonderful to work with. Just to create all your detail in isolated areas. Okay. On a separate layer, I decided to do some top highlights and some little sparkles in here. And I put those on one layer for us to look at. But look what top highlights do for this. Not only on your wheels and this hubcap, but just little places, little sparkle on that breather. Same thing on this heat shield, on this header. Those little highlights, it just helps a lot. This finned valve cover, I love it. It just kind of gives it a little, I don't know, a little pizzazz, even for a cartoon. All right. Now on that background, remember we had that crazy desert background with all these little mesas and plateaus and cactus and abandoned skull and all that crazy stuff. I did that in several layers, but just for sake of this video, so it won't be too long and boring, I put all those layers in one color layer for you to take a look at. This is what that background looks like, all rendered out. I just love the color on this thing. It just comes alive. I mean, look at the detail you can get in here with this skull and just play. Create a little shadow and just have some fun with this cartoon. All right, even on these clouds. I mean, reflection of the ground and highlight on top, really? I don't know. But I just like what that did when I start playing with these, selecting these areas again, the shape in here, and just playing with some solid colors on the edge. Now, this car is moving. This guy's in here cruising through the desert, and he ought to have some evidence of motion. So I just, with my paintbrush tool, with the opacity turned way down, just started playing and scribbling in some dust coming off the back of the car, off this rear wheel. And this is what that looks like. It's nothing, like I say, realistic, but nothing is on this drawing. But I like it. It just gave it a little bit of motion, a little bit of fun. It should be dusty out there in the desert. All right, well, there's a fun, quick look, I know, at how to draw and how to render this really cool little cartoon pickup truck cruising through the desert. Well, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video or found it helpful in any way, please check out our other videos available on Rendering Insights.